Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I am, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I am joined by my buddy Myron.
Hey, folks. You know what? I'm a Gary Lamb guy.
Guess what? I'm a Gary Lamb guy.
We work this stuff out ahead of time, if you don't know, folks. If you're not watching, we're wearing I'm a Gary Lamb guy t-shirts. Great week in wrestling. Interesting week in wrestling.
Crazy week. Absolutely. By the way, for the record, he'll appreciate this. After this week, this past weekend, I forever will be a Gary Lamb guy. So, shout outs to Gary. He'll know why. I appreciate it, but that's why the shirt went on this week on the show. So, but man, yeah, this week in general in pro wrestling, not just in the Georgia area, but as far as all over the country, the world it's SummerSlam week, man. It's always busy, right?
It's a good week.
Lots of stuff to get into. Going to be a little more balanced this week, but we got a hot take on our Georgia Indie Talks. If you haven't heard, if you don't usually stick around for the Georgia Indie Talk, you probably should this week, and we'll get there. But first, let's start. The obvious place you got to start after a SummerSlam weekend is, of course, SummerSlam. We're not going to do a huge takeover review. Some buddies of ours do these reviews, and we share them. If you haven't noticed, we don't go digging into the matches and raking.
I didn't watch all the matches. I just watch what I want to watch.
Exactly. So, if you're looking for a review show, that's not us. We're a more topical-based show. So we do share on our Twitter. If you want to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, anywhere on social media, it's at Tapped Out Pod. Yeah, we're sharing reviews and stuff like that. If you want as far as the reviews themselves go, so check those out. I use them from across the Pro Wrestling Journal. To Chair Shot, Gorilla Position. I mean, we're big fans, obviously, of all of those, and we use a lot of their reviews to put on our feed so our fans can actually get the reviews, and those are people that we like to use. So, But let's start right out of the gate, man. Again, like I said, SummerSlam kicked off. It's become, it's a lot of people were trying to say it was a little bit of a disappointment. Just overall, what was your take?
I enjoyed it. I watched most of it. Fast forwarded through some of it. My whole thing was they have pumped new life in the women's evolution. It looked like it was on live support. They put a phenomenal women's tag team match on the pre-show, 3 great women's matches on the main show, and then the thing last night with Sasha coming out on the 1-year anniversary of Natty's father's death, attacking her, then attacking Becky Lynch, wearing her out with a chair. Heel turn. Love it. They've done really good. Okay, the women put on phenomenal matches on the main card. They're set up so good with Nikki, and they've set up so good with my brain just went blank for a second. How could it go blank for a second? Alexa. They set up Nikki and Alexa in a great spot for down the road. They've set up so much good. The Charlotte and Trish thing was priceless. You watched the Goldberg match. I didn't.
I did. We'll get to that at the very end of the because I really want to talk about that. Yeah.
You watched the AJ Styles and Ricochet match. I watched that. That was phenomenal.
It was probably the best match of the night, quote unquote. Yeah. But I would argue for different reasons. But yeah, I thought as far as wrestling back and forth, and kudos to Ricochet for the Nightwing outfit. It looked pretty cool.
Yeah, I love the show. I love the whole show.
Yeah. My takes on it, like I said, I agree with you that Trish and Charlotte, I mean, you put a star, you put a legend, and you get what it was a great match. The Hurricane Run off of the top rope was really cool by Trish. Yeah. By the way, and it's by no way is this sexual. I mean, we talked about this on the pre-show a little bit. Trish looks phenomenal. I mean, still.
Yeah, she's in terrific shape. She's what, 46?
I don't know how old she is.
Okay, I'm 46. I look nowhere near as good as Trish Stratus at 46. I cannot do all the things Trish Stratus. I can't do anything Trish Stratus can do. Let's just put it that way. So that is amazing how good of shape she's in, how well she's taking care of herself. And she had an innate talent to do stuff almost at a higher level than she did it when she was on the roster the first time around.
There were moments where I actually was thinking that like she's doing stuff that I don't know she would have done back then.
Mm-mm.
So kudos to the women, like I said, across the board. Even the match that everybody tried to, poo-poo on the most was Ember and Bayley. And if nothing else, I tweeted it out. I noticed it so much that Bayley looked like she had a little more of a vicious side to her as the champ.
Yes. And she's going to need that for what they're going to set up down the road.
Yeah, we think she's probably on a, obviously, again, we always say, sometimes we record this before SmackDown. This is one of those occasions. We got a feeling that it's probably Trish, or it's going to be Charlotte and Bayley down the road.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. We'll watch SmackDown and we'll figure that out. So if you're listening to the show on Thursday and you go like, hey, that didn't happen, we didn't know that yet.
If it did, we're geniuses.
Yeah, exactly. The other piece, man, Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar. Say what you want about Brock Lesnar. That, hands down, was a great match for Brock Lesnar. It was one of the best matches he's had in a long time. Great story. And when that finish happened, they got the crowd, and that's what matters. Yeah. So, dog Brock Lesnar all you want. This is the kind of match that when he puts them on, he proves you wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So
Brock Lesnar is a significant guy. He put over Seth Rollins. They're going to give Rollins another chance with the belt. Mm-hmm. He was boring. But when you keep getting that Brock seal and Brock gives you that Iggy, it makes you look big. I mean, that's how you do it. You take your biggest, baddest guy and you use him to put over the guy you want to go someplace with.
I think the promo on Raw from Rollins was better than the follow-up to the last time. So I think this kind of maybe hopefully reignites. And, obviously, at the end of Raw, Strowman came out and saved him.
Yeah, that was
from
good.
the OC.
That'd be good to set up a bunch of six-man tag right there. Right?
Absolutely. But like I said, I think this time maybe this reboot with Rollins maybe gives him a boost. And to be honest with you, his last title win was kind of hokey. Remember, it was the ball shot, and it was a lot of So this one, he legitimately beat Brock Lesnar straight up. So maybe that's the rub that he was needing in overall. But the card itself, I said again, top to bottom. I know a lot of people it's cool to crap on WWE. This card was much better than I think anybody thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And guess what? How many times have we said that this year?
They have surprised us a lot. The last show was a big surprise too.
I tell people that, from month in and month out, I'm like, look, I dog the weekly, and it's hard to do 52 weeks a year on TV, but SummerSlam is another example of when they get to the pay-per-views, it goes back to the year. You remember we talked a while back. Maybe it's just best just to watch the pay-per-views.
Yeah. Well, they do 5 hours of big network TV every week, 52 weeks a year. That's 250-something, 260 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Of television that they're responsible for producing. They all can't be winners, folks. They all can't be winners. It just happens.
But you know who was a winner at SummerSlam?
Who's that?
Bill Goldberg. Now we're going to talk about Goldberg, and he won. And I don't mean he defeated Dolph Ziggler. That's not how he won.
Got his shine back.
Very much so. It goes to show you that one good, outing can wipe the memory of the last bad thing that you did.
What have you done for me lately?
And, when he came out, and, I was wondering, what kind of reaction he was going to get. Because, the stink. And I think it proves a couple things. And tell me if you think I'm wrong. If you think I'm wrong, you can email us at tappedoutpod@gmail.com, or you can message us on any social media, again, at tappedoutpod. I think what he proved was two things. One, the people that are watching are not always they're more casual fans. They're not as diehard as you think they are.
Yeah.
Even the people in Toronto at that pay-per-view, I think the reaction he got proves that not as many people cared about the Saudi Arabia match versus Taker.
Or saw it.
Well, they may have saw it, but you know what? They maybe just don't say. Maybe it looked like a fight to them, and it didn't look like this went wrong, or they botched this, or whatever.
Well, if someone hadn't told you it was botched and so many mistakes, would you have really read it that way? If you just went into it, me or you or somebody who watches a ton of wrestling might know that.
Right.
But a kid or a fan, and if you were to close your eyes and say, tell me about Goldberg, you wouldn't tell me about Goldberg 2019. You tell me about Goldberg 1999.
And that's what they gave you. Essentially, that's what you got at SummerSlam. I tweeted it out. and then shared it on Facebook as well, and said, just give us the hit, man. It's the formula that's worked for years, and it did.
Yep.
It was Ziggler. I was surprised, honestly, that Ziggler hit the super kick to get the upper hand, like, early. But then, of course, we get spear, jackhammer, over. And then we got a little encore presentation of, spear. And everybody on Facebook and, on social media across the board, Twitter, it was talking about, does anybody do the spear better than Bill Goldberg? He just basically runs through you.
A guy named Chris Jericho said that.
Yeah.
He makes it look for real because he's an experienced football tackle.
Probably
I know
is.
Reigns played football, but Goldberg is a monster.
The joke would be it looks real because it is real. He's literally running through them.
He's stiff as hell. And of course, Reigns played football at Georgia Tech.
So they don't hit real hard at Georgia Tech.
No.
And they don't make all the tackles like they should. So that led me to the casual fan and the stink wearing or whatever. But also, it led me to show something that I asked this next question. Characters draw, not technicians. Because in that match epitomized it to where we love Dolph Ziggler. We've said that last week. We love Dolph Ziggler, so that's not the issue. But Dolph Ziggler will never draw the money that Bill Goldberg will draw.
Dolph Ziggler's like the aunt that gives you a decent Christmas present. You know you're going to get $25 every year. She's not going to bake a good cake and bring it to the family thing, or she's not going to give you a whole $100 Amazon gift card, but you're going to get your 25. You can get your $25 check every time. Consistent performer, not anything flashy, but you're grateful to have him because if you need somebody to work with, he'll always have a job in wrestling because he's always the guy you can work with to put people over.
Right. He's always going to look good in the ring, but is he really drawing you money in the grand scheme of things? And Goldberg, that's what it was. I mean, that reaction, the crowd still loves him regardless. And
how can we get the stink off Goldberg? Well, let's put him in there with a guy who'll give him a decent match, and then Goldberg can go over.
It didn't even have to be a decent match. We got kick, spear, jackhammer, boom, match. You got a Goldberg match.
Well, with Dolph Ziggler, it doesn't hurt him. You lost to a part-timer who's a monster.
Right.
You lost to 99 Goldberg. You didn't lose to Saudi Arabia Goldberg.
Yep.
That's better. It's okay. Dolph's fine. Dolph's not a guy who wins. He's not the guy that wins and losses matter to. It's not going to hurt his character. And
then, like I said, and Goldberg proves he was a star. Period. And he's back as a shiny tool.
He sells merchandise.
And you know who else is going to sell some merchandise right now? Look, this Bray Wyatt thing, the Fiend. Yeah. When they started the Firefly Funhouse, we talked about that. Give it a minute, let it run its course, and see. Because everybody wanted it. What is this? This is stupid. Okay, we got the payoff with the Fiend, and for the record, I'll go ahead and tell you, the character development of the Firefly Funhouse got us here, and holy crap, was it worth it?
Yeah, it's a big deal. That's shock. That's awe. That's super character. It's going to sell a ton of merchandise. It's going to be able to put Finn Balor out for his legitimately. He's going to take some time off. You put him out with a monster. Doesn't hurt your character when you come back. Come back as the Demon. Demon versus Fiend. WrestleMania. Larger than life. You can do all this kind of work with the two characters versus each other. Because, unless he's the Demon, the only thing Finn Balor really has going for him is his, tolerance position, which is great, but it's not a gimmick. It's not a merchandise. It'll sell some merchandise, but it won't sell like a T-shirt with a demon on it or all that crazy stuff or the masks. People love masks.
Speaking of, it was kind of a mask. That the Bray Wyatt head on the lantern.
That was pretty scary.
It's creepy.
I saw probably a dozen people posting that they wanted one of those. I'm like, no, not me.
No. The whole entrance is cool. I love the way they kind of tweak the music, and it's a little bit different. So it was kind of like as Bruce Pritchard would say, fresh painted coat.
Yep. Go away and learn a new hold.
Yeah. And they've done some cool, the light flicker thing, post-match is really good. I mean, they've done so many good things with this, and I love it. But it kind of proved our point when we were talking about selling and drawing. So this past week, they put puppets. Yes, I said puppets were available for sale on WWEshop.com. And the mask, the Fiend mask, selling like crazy. And then to go on top of that, they come out with this limited edition 500 made Firefly Funhouse box set that had a play set, a shirt, autograph, postcard, cutout, stickers, photos, all this kind of stuff for $39.99, and they're gone.
Yeah.
Characters draw, characters sell.
Mm-hmm.
Technicians are appreciated and they get 4 and 5 stars, but they don't draw. At some point, you have to become a character.
Like a Huchikata Baraka, or whatever the hell that guy's name in Japan, who's such a great wrestler. They talk about gets all this.
Actually, the sad part is I will disagree with you. Okada has actually got a good character. I love the Rainmaker, but I just mean in the general. Give you an example. We love him. And by the way, sad news to hear that Lance Storm's closing the academy.
Yeah.
But Lance Storm was the epitome of the example. Lance Storm in the ring was like second to none.
Mm-hmm.
Dean Malenko might fall into this category.
Yep.
Got
my Dean Malenko sweatshirt in the closet. Oh, no, don't.
So until Lance Storm got serious for a minute, I mean, he was just pretty vanilla. I mean, again, wasn't going to have a bad match. He was going to go toe to toe with everybody, but was he really drawing money? And be honest with yourself, because a lot of people go like, "Yeah, man, really drawing money." Like somebody that you would say, like, I'm going to pay my money to see this guy. There's a huge difference there. So the end of that conversation is real simple, people. Characters draw. Technicians are good in the ring, which is awesome.
And that's like something MJF. He talked about the MJF. He said that characters are the draw in wrestling. And you see the other day, he's walking down the beach. He steps on somebody's sandcastle. He's a heel.
And that's why they're going to be the star.
He's the next guy coming up. He's going to be the next big thing. I love that guy.
Yeah. Well, speaking of next, let's take one letter out of that. I do want to talk about NXT news this week, man. NXT to Fox Sports 1 is seems like it's a done deal. I mean, now whether it is or not, I don't know, but it seems to be. That's kind of what everybody says. They're going to move to Fox Sports 1, 8 to 10 p.m. Obviously, Wednesday nights they're going to stay there because they were there. So head to head, it looks like we may get a Wednesday night war between AEW and NXT. Which, think about it, was what we always said was the real competition.
Yeah, there's the real competition, definitely. And now that, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm chomping at the bit to get to this next topic.
Oh, I mean, I'm saying, the main roster guys are going to come over. We discussed this a while back. To me, this is the beginning of the thing we discussed a while back, where is this main roster guys are like Buddy Murphy, who everybody loves, and everybody, but he's let's be blunt. I mean, he's getting a flicker here and there. But think about this. You could do the Mike Kanellis story on NXT on Fox Sports 1 instead. You could, or give it some more, you could flesh it out more. Because guess what they're going to need? If they go to 2 hours, they're going to need a little more talent poking their head in.
I know R-Truth does not have the 24/7 belt. But when he gets it back, have him run through NXT with a 24/7 belt.
Yeah, make a pop in.
That doesn't discredit him. Put over a guy on the roster, go back, repeat. You got so much good you can do. NXT is arguably WWE's #1 work rate product. It's the show the smart marks watch. It's the show that is probably the future of WWE. And it's the best competition to AEW. It's very similar fan base when you think about it.
It is. Very much the same.
People, I hate WWE, but I keep a network so I can watch NXT. Very similar fan base. And they're going to, once that's exposed to a bigger audience, I have a feeling it will be incredibly popular. It's a good move for them. What are they going to fill in with on the network with? Reruns? They're going to run it on Fox. And then
the rumors are, it'll be like the next week it would be on, or something. Who knows? I mean, the first run product that NXT will be available on the network. It'll just be post Fox Sports 1 having it.
Be interested to see how that affects the network.
Well, we've all heard the rumors of them with the tiers and bringing the other indie promotions on, and I think that's where this all becomes
Well, yeah, but then they heard that rumor they were going to buy a Fight, and then they said that's not true. But
No, Fight said they're not in current negotiations with them. Read the wording very carefully.
Oh,
they were not in negotiations to sell the product. Didn't say somebody wasn't asking them if it was for sale, and would they be interested? I think potentially that's the influx of independent promotions on the WWE network.
mm-hmm.
That's their tier plan, because I think that could be very much their saving grace if NXT moves out. By the way, if you're only keeping it for NXT, you're nuts, because a lot of the documentaries and the many things they do, phenomenal, and of course the pay-per-views alone are, in my opinion, it's just my opinion. I could be wrong. It's just worth it for the pay-per-view. So I mean,
save money on the pay-per-views.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I know everybody's biggest concern is, does this mean Vince and Kevin Dunn are getting more involved because it's going to be a live show and the production required, and so we'll see. I mean, I think, like I said, in the grand scheme of things, and I want to take the shot. When they signed with Fox last year, WWE, we'd already heard this rumor. So everybody now, am I saying that did AEW and the whole counter programming thing, did it officially happen because of AEW? Maybe, probably. I'll extend it out to probably. But they were already talking about it when they signed the deal with Fox to begin with. So it just kind of, I think, became to fruition because of all of other things coming. But when they signed that deal, AEW wasn't even, it was like, okay, they didn't know what night they were going to run on, but it happens. I would have agreed more to this case if AEW had announced they were going to be on Thursdays, and then they moved it to Thursdays. Then I would have agreed with you. Okay. But yeah, NXT to Fox Sports 1, I'm kind of excited about it, to be honest with you, because it might make me, watch it a little more.
Yeah. Well, I might keep up with it more. It's not that I don't try to keep up with it. It's just, oh, God, there's a lot of stuff to keep up with.
Well, I mean,
sit down on TV on Wednesday night. Get down in your chair, you get your remote control, you start flipping back and forth between two programs, NXT and AEW.
Yep.
And where do you stay?
Well, you're gonna find your happy home, or do you have to? You can watch them both. It's okay, by the way. But AEW, man, they're stacking their roster apparently to get ready for this war themselves, right?
This is the topic that I am so confused about. They signed Orange Cassidy this week. This guy wrestles with his hands in his pockets. Okay? What is he? Okay, you sit down on your couch and you flip back and you see Adam Cole and you see these guys just tearing it up, and you see a guy with his hands on his pocket on another network. Do you want to stay and watch that? No, you're going to watch the guys wrestling, because you're not a mark that knows how cool Orange Cassidy is supposed to be. Cody says they've only revealed 40% of their roster. Okay? 40% of their roster. They have 37 men and 12 women apparently signed right now. So if that's 40% for a weekly 2-hour television show, they're going to have a roster of 122.5 people on it. I guess the half person would be Marco Stunt. I don't know. But think about it. Raw has 40 men and 15 women for 3 hours a week. SmackDown has 36 men and 14 women for 2 hours a week. And we complain about how, we don't see enough of this guy. This guy doesn't get enough time on television. How are you going to do that with 3 times as many talent? Is this something? I mean, you made an interesting point that I really like, but I just can't see that it's coming out of what's looking like a vanity promotion.
Well, when I addressed earlier is when we were doing our show prep that you can get. I mean, if you're a Patreon member at patreon.com/tappedoutpod, we do a show prep before every show, and only our Patreon members see that. We talk about a ton of stuff that never makes it to the show. All of lots of other things, the cool other things there. And of course, you get the show early as well, which is always a bonus. But what I said on that show prep was that you're referring to was, I mean, maybe they're just talking about are they counting the guys that aren't like full-time, contract, guys. So maybe this is the guys that they're letting wrestle the independents all over, or they're just kind of bringing them in. The cool advantage of that would be is that you don't have to see the same guys wrestle all the time. You could rotate them in, so a guy might wrestle for 2 weeks, then be off for a week or 2, 3 weeks maybe, come back, so guys aren't having to get beat every single week. So to me, that's,
But you're gonna have to sit on those guys till you get your big stuff over.
well, no, I mean, because then I know like squash matches are probably not going to be a big thing like they should be. But you could have John Moxley beat, you know, Marco Stunt, and then Marco Stunt's off TV for a couple weeks. Or you could have Cody beat Cassidy, on TV, and then he's not necessarily there. So by the time he comes back, you've kind of forgot about that he lost that match. And so it's not like we complain that Dolph Ziggler got beat on Raw for 4 straight weeks or something crazy like that at a time. Like they're just jobbing him out. Well, rotate him around, and then they'll go down to the Indies and they'll work for a couple of weeks and then they'll come back.
Help the guys, because if they work on the indie circuit and they can put AEW star X when you book on the thing. But then again, you just saw where they pulled Luchasaurus off that show in Augusta, the IWE show, because of contractual obligations.
Yeah, I think well, they've said like the full timers aren't going to get. At some point, they're going to be, I think, reined back in, especially once TV starts. You're not going to see those guys in the States as much. But you never know.
Do they have? They've got to be running payroll capacity, from what I understand. They do not have enough money under the cap to continue to sign gimmicks.
Well, it could be like I said, they may be on some of these guys who are coming in and out. Maybe they're just like pay per appearance, and they're not under full-time contract. So it's every show you do, you'll get X amount of money. That could be the deal, right? Could be pretty simple.
Okay, but I mean, if that works out, great. But can we book some guys like on the indie circuit that are like legit? Like, say, sign O'Shea Edwards, sign a guy like James Drake, who you can believe are wrestlers. Anthony Henry.
I am floored that Odinson and Pero have not been signed by anybody. That just floored. I mean, I know they've made some appearances here and there, but I'm like, how are they not signed? I have no idea.
Yeah. Torn Up Japan. Those guys are a big deal. MLW said they were looking for tag teams just recently. I got it right there, guys. You've already had Pero on MLW. Bring him in with Odinson. You got the most amazing tag team there is. It's
the modern day Road Warriors. Yeah.
Huh?
Modern day Road Warriors.
Exactly. Gonna squash you. Gonna squash you. Gonna keep squashing you. I like it.
So
I like things that look like wrestling.
Yeah.
Not dancing.
Well, yeah. This is a hard transition into, but it was a tough thing. I don't want to talk about it a ton, but I had to ask the question of, with everything week in and week out and all of the news, when's the last time we discussed Ring of Honor, other than the Bully Ray thing, right? So this past week, they ran the Ring of Honor Summer Supercard, run it in Toronto. Everybody goes up and tries to run a bunch of shows to piggyback off of SummerSlam, WrestleMania. Yeah. You want to know why WWE's number one? Or you want to know how you know they're obviously a clear number one? Is everybody piggybacks on their shows, right? Yeah. So they run, and they drew like a little over 1,000 is what the number is. Now, I'm just being devil's advocate here because, we love to post pictures of WWE's half-empty arenas, right? This picture that from it was bad, really bad. But I'm not going to pick on attendance. That's not what I was wanting to do. So I was listening to a friend of the show, Stephen Platinum, one of his full disclosures and commentary. You should subscribe to his YouTube channel if you're not.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And then check out his Patreon if you want the tea.
Yeah. And he asked a question, a while back about a local promotion here in Georgia Premier. And then he kind of said it's the same question you would ask yourself now about Ring of Honor. Like, why does Ring of Honor exist now? What is their place in the pecking order now? I mean, they're below Impact, and Impact essentially, in my opinion, at this point, I hate to say it, if you're a Ring of Honor fan, that's just my opinion. They're below Impact, and Impact has the worst TV deal probably in history of promotions on TV.
Gotta love what they're doing at Impact. I just don't know why no one can see it. If you built a wrestling company and nobody came, does it still count? Right now, Impact is the tree in the woods. It's falling.
I don't know. I disagree, Myron. Because
it's just great stuff. Nobody knows it's there.
Well, but the wrestling bubble, as we like to call it, the Tessa Blanchard, Sammy Callahan, but Tessa Blanchard is wrestling dudes. I mean, and being, the best woman's wrestler in the world and all this kind of stuff. I mean, you hear more about Impact than you do Ring of Honor, and freaking Ring of Honor's on Sinclair Broadcasting, which is one of the biggest, affiliates. I said, come on.
Sinclair needs content. They've got all these television stations. They have to fill a lot of airtime to sell advertising on. You need content. They're a house show for them. They're basically their studio wrestling to sign some stuff and get some guys work and sell commercials. They're not something that we're going to be able to say is that important on the wrestling scene as it is important to their network. They're a content filler. They're an infomercial, basically.
That's it. My question is that it? Are they just a TV show being produced?
Yes.
For the network, and that's essentially all they want. They don't care that if it grows or if it doesn't. The house show attendance, none of that matters. Because when we were talking about their place, AEW leapfrogged to 2 before they ran a show.
Yeah.
So, and 3, 4, and 5 are the most debatable positions right now, in my opinion. Because is it Impact, is it MLW, or is it Ring of Honor? A lot of people right now would say that MLW is number 3.
In my opinion, MLW is number 3, and Ring of Honor is 5. And if I tell you, if Impact had a good TV deal right now, they could be number 2. They were legitimately could be number 2, but they need a TV deal.
I still think AEW is number 2 for whatever reasons. When especially the TNT deal kind of, I think, solidifies it. I'm with you. At this point, I hate to tell people, MLW hands down across the board is number 3 in my opinion. And it's sad that at 4 and 5 in Impact and Ring of Honor, I couldn't tell you which one is 4 or 5.
It fluctuates.
It's from day to day. It fluctuates. And here's the crazy thing: we joked about this on the show prep that if the NWA come into Atlanta for TV tapings, if they start snagging away Ring of Honor talent, Ring of Honor could be in serious trouble.
The NWA is in a unique position where they could start really pinching them.
Mm-hmm.
Really pinching them.
It very much so. So they need to keep their eyes out. I mean, they really need to scour the indies, right? That's kind of their big thing.
From the not NRA, NWA is watching this. I'd love to talk to somebody. I'm not looking for a job. I would just like to do some shows or get some insight as to what you're doing, what your plans are here in Atlanta, since we're here in Atlanta. We know a lot of people. I'm not saying, we're wrestling experts, but I am curious. I'm super stoked. Where are they going to record, Nick?
I don't know. We got to figure all those details are coming, okay. And so
let us know, folks. I'd love to talk about it. I really want more information. If anybody can just send me some more information about what's going on, I am dying to hear. Just dying to hear.
Well, it's like I said, we're talking across the board, but it's almost time. We're about to hit our hot subject. Everybody loves hearing about the Georgia Indie Talk. We gave you a little teaser of something's coming, a little opinion that I have that's probably not going to be the greatest or most received.
Going to shoot on you folks.
But before we do, this week, our sponsor for the Georgia Indie Talk is the Fight App. We've been with the Fight App since, way back when. We've been with them for years. So they're going to sponsor it out. And the reason why they're sponsoring the Georgia Indie Talk, man, is they actually carry, some of the Georgia, indie promotions are on there. But not only that, you can still find Ring of Honor on there. You can still find our buddies out at Rocky Mountain Pro. Shout out to Matt Yaden, Curtis Cole. Lots of those guys out there, good friends of the show. But you can also find who does the other shows? You go to a lot of the Georgia shows that are on there, right? What do you watch on there on the Fight App from Georgia?
From Georgia? Oh, Anarchy! God, I love.
I was about to say, come on, man, we're gonna
good. I went to a live Anarchy show. I can't remember watching it on the app now.
Right.
But here it is. I can go up to Anarchy and have the Anarchy experience, which is so intense and insane with those crazy fans and the yelling and the screaming. But if I can't make it for $10, I can go to the Fight App and watch it. And they tape that stuff so well and it is produced so well. I'm telling you, They are on a comeback. I predict now Anarchy will reassert its place in Georgia wrestling. I don't know where that place is going forward, but they are coming for it.
And if you want to watch, like, check out some of the Georgia, like, Anarchy that Myron's talking about, and check out the Fight app. We are going to put the link up to where you can download the app, and it'll be on our Twitter and it'll be on our Facebook page this week. You can actually click on that link and go there and download the app, and you'll see there's lots of free wrestling. Rocky Mountain Pro is free; you can just watch it. But they do actually have pay-per-views and stuff on there as well that you can watch. So definitely check out our friends over at the Fight app. You won't be disappointed. They carry lots of ton of stuff, even like the StarCast. The StarCast stuff is on there. But like I said, we always say if you're looking for a lot of independent stuff, it's a great place to check it out to get some independent pro wrestling. But you wanted to talk a little bit about Anarchy, man, real quick before.
Yeah, I don't know who all has listening, and I'm assuming most of the Georgia listeners have been to the Landmark Arena. They have really done a lot of work at that place. It is super good condition. They've got it just perfect for television. And when they start slinging up that cage, you get cold. Your blood runs cold. You know something's going to happen. Man, Matt Hankins. You know, I've never been a Crystal Rose fan. But Crystal Rose showed out in that Anarchy Games match. The three-way cage match for the title, amazing. It's a very intimate venue. There were probably 200 people there. I would suggest getting up and see it. I think Anarchy is at a good starting place right now to just tear up this summer and into the winter. Look for it, folks. Keep your eye on them. They're doing big things.
Well, I do know there. You had mentioned there's a little flux there right now with some of the guys leaving, heading out. Logan, you said, was heading out. Yeah. Possibly Jacob Ashworth taking a break for a while as well. And that was one of Stephen Platinum's comments today was, you know, they're lacking a little bit of star power right now. They're going to have to reload and get some, you know, get a star. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier about characters drawing and technicians, and you know, they need a draw. That's what, and I think they're going to try to make one. But a draw is definitely.
They've got a lot going on with that Will Caution kid. I'm going to go ahead and tell you. They got Griff Garrison in a good spot to be a next level superstar. Don't worry about Anarchy. They're going to be just fine.
Well, we'll see. But I tell you who is really on fire. Southern Honor Wrestling this past week. First and foremost, I do want to apologize. Did not make the tailgate. You know, if you don't know the details, all I can say is I'm sorry. You know, stuff came up when it didn't happen. But Southern Honor never seems to disappoint, right?
No. I can't wait to get to watch that. I had to miss it too. Could not get out of work. I'm pretty much out of any kind of excuses or time or vacation to get out of work for this stuff. But man, that looked amazing. That show looked amazing. Robert Gibson was there. Chip Day was there. Our buddy Frankie Parrish was there. That's probably one of the biggest events of the year. It could be their Royal Rumble in the future if they continue to do that. I'm super stoked to see what's going, and I can't wait to see as much footage as I can of that show.
Yeah, I was thrilled to see Chip. I actually made a comment to him that I was so glad to see him there. It put a smile on my face, and hopefully a lot of that drama's washed and gone, and we're going to see him hopefully more there in the action building. Danny eliminating Gibson, I think, shows the world Dylan gets how to use a legend.
Yes. Dylan equals good booker.
It was smart. I mean, it was just Gibson's not hurt by anything that happened in the match. Danny eliminating him in Battle Royal is not. I mean, it's still. But she now is the legend. She's the new legend killer, right? She's the one.
For that program she's got working on with Jake.
Exactly. It plays right into the same boat. So
she's legit. I mean, it's to the point with her that I am beginning to wonder if we look at the Georgia Wrestling History Awards, if Danny Jordan couldn't take like a category typically going to men or has typically been a man's category. Most improved. Or, I mean, she's not only the best women's wrestler currently operating primarily in the state of Georgia, but she's an amazing character, and she's hitting all her marks, folks. I am beginning to wonder if she's in a position to take the place. And if you haven't heard it now, I'm going to be on Tipping Point tonight. We're going to be talking about the Georgia wrestling.
And she hands down gets my vote.
Definitely. And then coming up on Saturday, you know what I'm stoked about? Southern Fried.
Hold on. Before you get to Southern Fried, I want to finish off on Southern Honor before we get out of here. From a personal level, I want to shout out to friend of the show, Frankie Air Paris, for his appearance in the RumbleJack. Dude has transformed himself from a place that he said he wasn't happy with his body, whatever. He's in phenomenal shape, and to the point that what I'm hearing, maybe this won't be the last time we see him in the ring. Wink, wink.
Frankie Paris, Trish Stratus, me.
He's like, hey, Frankie Paris is like a fine wine. He's getting better with time, right? He's actually rejuvenated us. So hopefully,
I'm pretty into vinegar.
So yeah, I'm teasing it. Hopefully, we see him in the ring. If not, dude,
that's amazing, and he's super cool. I really, really like Frankie.
So yeah, I 100% agree. So go ahead and cover the Southern Fried. I know we're heading out there this weekend.
Fried card. Hold on here. Chicken truck. We've been listening to that a lot this week, Southern Fried fans. August 17th, we got a big show to go to out there at the Boys and Girls Club of Monroe, 405 Community Court. If you're free this weekend, if you're not free this weekend, I suggest you get over to this show. This is going to be a really hot show. I don't just mean hot. It should be fairly comfortable in the building. It's every time I go there, they get it better. But guys, they're gonna work. I mean, last show was a heat show, just scorching hot heat show.
And what he means by that is JBE burned the house down. They just basically tore through everybody,
and they built angles. And you saw that Brooklyn Creed video. I'd like to talk. She didn't say I'd like to talk to Tom, but she did like, I'd like to talk to Jacob. You hear Logan Pete, folks, they're building this up. The Booker of the Year thing is probably going to be the most heavily debated topic in Georgia this year. By far. I don't see how anybody
is just running away.
This.
Say nobody's just like running away with it this year.
I think Dylan had a stumbling point at the 1,000 show. I think Todd had a stumbling point at Shindig. I think they both made up for it. And I think they're doing something special. This is dynamite. Look forward to seeing big things out of this. The Southern Fried Show, Feel the Heat, August 17th, 2019. 405 Community Court, Monroe, bell time at 7. Doors open at 6. Get out there. This is Xander Ramon and Logan Creed. You got this Michael Judas turn or whatever it is now that he's a good guy and he's working with Josie Quinn and Billy Buck versus the Approved. AC Mack and Will Caution.
That one should be pretty good.
Man, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Will Caution, next big thing.
We'll see. But hey, before we get to the big topic, I do want to shout out real quick here. I forgot to mention this. I did tweet it out. And Southern Fried rang a bell because a few years ago, we were at a Southern Fried show, and I saw a young man who was 19 years old named Austin Theory. And I walked over to Terry Lawler and said...
Crossroads.
3 years ago, probably.
2 years. It'll be 2 years. This will be our third Crossroads this time.
Okay, I'll go with that. So, but I remember looking at this kid and going, dude's going to be a star. Terry nodded his head and said, yep. And congrats for the...
Then you like, Mark, come over here. Because I got there late.
Yeah.
And you pointed it out, and I'm like, he looks like a Greek god.
And
I didn't see him in the ring, but I trust your opinion on him. He looked like a wrestler. He acted like a wrestler. Talked like a wrestler. He quacked like a wrestler, so he must be a duck. I mean, that guy has got it. Where did he show up Saturday night?
He was at NXT Takeover, folks. So, you know, congrats to Austin Theory. I mean, I honestly thought it might take a couple more years, not because of his skill level, just it generally does. But thanks for proving me right.
Seasoning sometimes takes longer, especially to get you used to working the WWE style. This kid's got it though.
Well, luckily he's been hanging out in Evolve, right?
Yeah, and he's got the thing about him. He's a pretty good kid too.
Very good kid.
Don't smoke. Don't do drugs. So he's going to be out there a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys have the careers. Well, Harley had the career too.
Yeah. We hope so, but I just wanted to give him a shout out because it was good to see him. When I'm sitting there watching, and I'm like, I just was like, oh my goodness, he's already there. But congrats to Austin Theory. But so now we're going to give you the hot take for the week because we had a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, which we're not going to get into. But so we didn't have our chance to put our 3 on tap this week. I apologize for that. But I did have something that kind of picked at my brain. So I believe it was last week. Stephen Platinum said that SCI is the biggest weekend / biggest event, in the Southeast, and it still is, and so forth. Generally, I'm pretty agreeable, across the board. I mean, we think similarly, which is terrifying to me at times. That I think pretty similarly on a lot of things with Stephen Platinum. But the question that popped into my mind was, is SCI really the biggest weekend in the Southeast in wrestling? Because, and I'm not, this isn't really negative, I think, to them. I'm not trying to be negative to them because the event is good from everything measurable. But the question I asked is, so essentially, though, over those 2 nights, they drew around 600 people, correct?
If I'm not mistaken, yes.
Give or take. If we're wrong, so be it. Southern Honor drew 560 Friday, on a Friday night in Metro Atlanta for a show.
That they run every month.
And they run it. Yeah. So if we took on a given week, think about, you brought up that's the weekend that Southern Fried and Southern Honor run back-to-back nights. What were those numbers again?
604 and then 651.
So it was 1,200 people on back-to-back nights. Now I get it; they're in different different areas. There's split across. So my question becomes, and maybe it's a challenge. I just turned into Platinum, right? I just turned into for a challenge. So the question became, is SCI really only the biggest weekend event because they're the only thing running a weekend event? Because two promotions back to back. I mean, Gary ran a show that topped their entire weekend with the Southern Honor 1000 event. So wasn't Southern Honor Wrestling 1000 the biggest event in the Southeast this year?
Yes, but it wasn't a weekend event. I mean, I play devil's advocate. Basically you're going to get SCI every year. It's an event people look forward to. It's an event talent are flown in for. Not that Gary doesn't get a lot of big name talent coming in, but what I'm just trying to say is it's presented as a large professional tournament, not a monthly wrestling show.
Okay.
It's like Christmas.
I'm about to crush your devil's advocate here.
Okay.
Gary Lamb had Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho, and Cody Rhodes in his ring. I don't think SCI's ever got close.
They got that Mugga Buggy dude.
They got Macabre from Canada. They flew him in. Or whatever, Maccabi or whatever. So, again, it's not a knock. I guess, again, because this is nothing at SCI. It's more from the sake of, can SCI really be the biggest weekend if the only thing constituting you as the biggest weekend is because you're running a weekend and you're not running one day? I mean, so if that's the case, back to my challenge. Gary Lamb, David Manders, the folks up at Landmark Arena, AWE, anybody. The challenge is run a weekend event Because I think any of those promotions I just named, well, okay, maybe not all of them, but if it's possible, I think Southern Fried or Southern Honor could easily outdraw SCI on a weekend event, because I'm going to go back to throwback. When they did Bells of the Brawl, which was the all-women show, we were partially involved in that, and they ran Shindig the next night. Well, they beat those numbers.
Yeah.
So
I talked to him about running another show like that, and I was like, God, that was so much trouble and so much work. And it's a lot. It's a big burden to expect one booker, one promoter. There's a lot of possibilities if you get more people involved to carry that load.
So Gary Lamb, David Manders, I'll even put Matt Griffin in there. I know he's involved with SCI. My challenge is, I think any of those promoters, and if other promoters think they can do it, go do it.
Prove Nick wrong.
No, prove me right. I think any of those people could run a weekend event, whether it be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever. Southern Honor would have to do Friday, Saturday. We know why, but that's right. But I guarantee you, think about this: if Southern Honor ran some type of Friday, Saturday, something, I bet money they could outdraw SCI.
And they would promote it like a big event like SCI. But yeah, I honestly believe, the right people, the right place, the right time, and it's going to be right place is really important.
Yeah.
Okay? You got to get in that spot where everybody can shine.
David Manders, I put money that he could probably do it too.
Yeah.
That he could probably run a weekend event again. Like next year at Shindig, do the same thing where they did Bells. I'm not saying run an all-women show, whatever. Maybe I'm wrong. But if I had to throw money on it, those two, I would throw money at it, and I would feel pretty confident with my bet. So for like a first anniversary show, for us, it is obviously not a summer show. It's not a summer event that I would maybe take. Maybe, who knows? Run the promotion and prove me right, prove me wrong. So there's your challenge.
That's bigger than any one of them threes we've been doing.
So yeah, hopefully you like that better than the 3 on tap.
Thanos' gauntlet down.
So take SEI tournament and take it out of the picture, and that's my challenge. And again, it's nothing personal against those guys. I just think that if you're only the biggest event because you're the only weekend event, challenge somebody, take it and see if they can beat it. Now, like I said, Gary, that's a personal challenge to you. David, that's a personal challenge to you. I think those two can do it. So anyway, if you, what are your thoughts and opinions on it? We always tell you, right? Email us at tappedoutpod@gmail.com. You can always DM us, PM us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter @tappedoutpod. But hey, if you're watching and you're not subscribing somewhere, that's the real way you want to support us. You can subscribe somewhere, whether that be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartMedia, Spotify. Doesn't matter where. Just subscribe and give us a good review and a rating on there. We greatly appreciate it. But man, the best way of all, Patreon, man. Patreon. Patreon.com/tappedoutpod. Subscribe. You get it? Yeah, you get exclusive stuff. You get the pre-show. You get the stuff early. You get lots of other stuff. So we're about to come out with some new rankings that are going to be on our Patreon. So, guys, do all of that and make sure you're taking care of the show. That's what we appreciate, because we love you guys and we appreciate all the support. Myron, what else you got, man?
I got nothing.
Well, what's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, man, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.